Yeah, ask for a story. I'll give you a story. I wrote one actually.
Well, this episode already went down because I'm not as perverted as she is.
Here we go, boys. It's titled New Civil Service. That's gonna be great. If you wanted a story, I'll give you a story. It's like 10 pages long. Here we go, boys. I expect no interruptions from you, faggot face. Okay. Observe Fluttershy, a frantic yellow Pegasus. Frantic for good reason, too. She thought silently as she paced nervously back and forth in her living room. Every few paces matched by a nervous and anxious glance to both her calendar and her front door. She pursed her lips and waited. She knew what the day was, and she had long since known that her turn would arrive, and ever since the new law, she'd been dreading every second that drew her closer to what she had unmarked on her calendar. To tea, the winged pony thought to herself. I should calm down. And so she stopped her pacing in her main room, instead making for her comely kitchen.
Are you watching a porn story?
I'm fucking reading a story I wrote. Fucking faggot. I already explained this. I said no interruptions, faggot face.
I'm sorry. Come on.
To set a kettle on. She failed to make it very far.
Oh.
What? Her calendar was on the wall.
Oh.
You fucking stop. Fucking
Okay.
stop. And
Okay.
she'd had to look right at it again.
Okay.
Okay, shut the fuck. I'm reading a story. There, in small red letters, was the day that filled her with such anxious terror. A little square simply marked Reading Day. At once, her breath caught in her chest, and she turned around, served as a grim reminder of the day. Fluttershy looked at the door again. Any second, she knew it. Then, as if on cue, she heard two loud raps on the door, to which she responded by taking cover behind her couch.
This is fucking sexy.
Open it. Yeah, trust me, it'll get better.
Oh.
Open up, man. Ponyville PD. They were here. She knew they'd show up, but didn't expect them to be so punctual. Fluttershy slumped behind the couch and contemplated for a moment. Maybe if I don't answer, they'll go away. Her thoughts were interrupted by another two smacks to the door. We know you're there, so open up. We're not out to break doors down. This is it. No hiding. Fluttershy slowly crept to her hooves and cautiously walked to the door. Hesitantly, she peeked through the hole in the door. Two police. We won't ask again. You open the door, or we do. The police lean a bit and peer into the door, now slightly ajar from some pony on the other side. It's my turn today, isn't it? A quiet and shaky voice asked from inside the door. Afraid so, miss. Don't try dodging it. Things aren't likely to get much better if you do. Oh, okay, Fluttershy said as she opened the door and stepped into the morning light. Good choice, miss. I'd have hated to tear your little house up finding you. Fluttershy, with a lowered head, closed the door behind her and began following the stallions sent to get her down the path to town. The weight of her situation became even heavier as her awareness of where she was grew more acute. Breeding Day. The princess's solution to the 300% spike in rapes for the last few years. Fluttershy chided herself for thinking badly of the Celestial Sisters, but she couldn't help it. Every mare of legal age up to their middle age was to spend a minimum of 1 day in the breeding stockade to help the stallions and mares of their towns. and today would be Fluttershy's first day. It didn't take long for them to get to the center of town where the stalks were, and they were a sight to see. Each one was more or less just a small bench that each mare would be bound to so that they would stay at least somewhat standing no matter how tired they were, with 2 low walls on either side. Flooded and the reek of sex permeating the air with the sounds of panting and slapping from the stalls. Fluttershy followed the police ponies, trying her best to ignore the growing tingle beneath her tail, as well as the slight hardening of her other tool. She could already see the stalk she was going to be in, the one with the butterfly scratched in the side, and a line, an impossibly long line. An element of harmony and a rare chance at her extra organ. With her mere presence, she'd emptied other stalls of their patrons. Everyone seemed to want a piece of the yellow Pegasus. Alright, here's your stop. On the bench, Butterbutt. Fluttershy trembled a little at the sight of the bench, mainly because the entire thing was stained from various fluids. She took a deep breath, looking at the massive line of ponies and then to the bench she'd be attached to for the entire day. A smack on her flank woke her up from her stare as she looked back to see a grin on the officer's face. Bench, now. Fine, but you don't have to be such a meanie about it, Fluttershy retorted. Doesn't matter, guards get first dibs, so get on the bench. She didn't know how to respond. Instead of trying to formulate another weak protest, she decided to just lay her belly on the bench. The feeling of the cool shackles wrapping around her forehooves confirmed to her again that she wasn't dreaming. Any doubt was taken from her. The cold steel took it the moment it touched her. There we go, pretty pony. Now let's see what we're working with. Fluttershy jumped a bit as the first touch from the stallion made contact, just along her back, then down further. Her body held forward by the shackles and bench, she wasn't able to look back, and she wasn't really sure she would have wanted to. The hoof pressed hardly on her round rump, feeling and exploring. Fluttershy sighed in relief as the hoof passed her tail. Then she tensed, coiled like a spring at where it went instead. Eep! She squeaked out. The hoof had found what it was looking for. Holy shit, I guess that rumor was true. You got a damn dick, girl. Fluttershy planted her forehead gently against the bench, trying to stay quiet and not belay her own noises. Guess the stallion clearly was having a good time. We found them. The stallion was gently rubbing and pressing the rather large, stimulating her as her shafts began to stiffen from the sensation, and the warmth at her tail grew. Ain't my style, though. Fluttershy gasps, half in her restrained moans, and half in relief to have him not touching her mare balls anymore.
Hey, you liking it?
Shut the fuck up. There's like 4 pages left.
Yeah, real sexy.
The relief proved short-lived, however, as she felt her tail rudely pulled to the side from behind, forcing her most private of areas to the stallion. She couldn't look, she just couldn't. Guess I gotta be quick, can't keep the line waiting. So while the buttery Pegasus was busy trying not to look, she instead felt the end of the stallion's rod poke at her. She couldn't ignore it. A small moan escaped her lips as she felt herself being parted and entered. The sound of the stallion behind her, a clear indication of her life at the moment as she felt him cram herself into her tight mare hole. Please, not so rough, she shouted, albeit softly. The plea fell on deaf ears. The stallion instead began to thrust, pushing the fast onslaught of his male meat inside her without remorse. Hey, her front is free. Seconds later, Fluttershy was eye to eye with yet another penis. She looked up, about to ask him to be gentle, but received a hard slap across her face before she could speak. The new male grabbed her mane roughly and jammed his cock into her throat, forcing Fluttershy to cough and gag around the swollen member. The stallion in her mouth sufficed to use her moaning and sputtering for himself as he yanked her hair to move her head. Behind her, Fluttershy could feel the police pony throbbing. In fact, she could feel herself throbbing too. Fluttershy was nearly screaming, but not just from her increasing lack of air, but from the growing pressure in her balls as her inner walls became more stretched by the rod inside of her. The stallion in her mare hole groaned in ecstatic glee while he unleashed a torrent of his seed inside, bottoming out and putting it all in deep. His softening cock slid out with a wet schlip as Fluttershy's own balls began to tense. If it hadn't been for the pain in her jaw and the warm semen spraying in her mane and face, she might have been glad too. But all she had to be happy about was feeling the stallion behind her pull out and see the stallion in front of her walk out of sight. Before the front was immediately replaced, forced down her gullet as she sputtered for oxygen.
Fucking Cloud's
Her
over
gut
there.
was running.
Hold on. Fucking Cloud's over there masturbating and shit.
And a few tears
Ricky, be
began
quiet.
running down her cheeks with the thick white
personal
decorating
problem.
her face. Fluttershy yelped in panic. She could feel another stallion behind her, but he wasn't poking her pained pussy. She felt the head of his stone-hard dick press against her virginal butthole. Fluttershy began to struggle weakly at the contact, trying her best to learn away, but to no avail. The stallion smacked her ass hard, causing her to grasp
Ricky.
uselessly around the stallion who had his rod in her
Ricky,
mouth.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Her body tensed and a thick glob of the last
Tired.
stallion's
gonna
bladder
go to
oozed
bed.
out of her. Fluttershy couldn't believe it. He was going to fuck her butt. The cock of the new stallion rubbed her
Have
labia,
fun, you guys.
smearing the viscous fluid all over and lubing himself up. The Pegasus couldn't help herself as a large drip of her pre-cum hit the bench after falling from her own cock. She could still feel her orgasm there, just a little closer and she'd burst. And she did burst. The male behind her forced his dick inside, and Fluttershy screamed. The sensation of fire set her ass alight as she lurched forward. Her throat was filled with more bitter and slimy semen as the stallion in front of her began to unload his nut directly into her shrieking mouth as she screamed in pain and pleasure. As the member intruding her anus forcibly stretched her, Fluttershy couldn't stop her own dam from crumbling. Her cock bounced as she came, firing a sticky salvo of her mare sperm on her belly and the bench beneath her. The element of kindness received only a few precious seconds of respite before another pony replaced the one in front of her. Except this was a mare. She hardly had time to register before her face was squished into the new mare's wet cunt, while her entire face was used to provide friction. It wasn't long before the mare had covered poor Flutter's face with her warm feminine juices and arousal. The burn in her butt had not let up at all, as the stallion had long since started to make his way in and out. It didn't take much longer before her pained asshole was also stuffed with a salvo of semen. Fluttershy couldn't contain herself as her ass and pussy clenched, her balls tightened, and her femcock jumped while she arrived at her second or third forced orgasm. Her stomach was matted and smeared with her own potent cum. "Wait," the stockhead pony shouted. "How long have I been at my shift?" Her cheek was met with a meaty slap from the new penis. 15 minutes or so, he responded. Fluttershy's eyes widened for a moment, for her jaw was opened again to accommodate the shaft. Fluttershy slumped onto the bench, splattering some of her cum onto the ground. All day. That was her shift. The buttery Pegasus cried as she felt another rod of hot flesh pushing into her soft and used folds from in between her stinging lower cheeks. Only the rest of the day to go. The end.
Wow, that was really inspiring. That made me want to cry.
Yeah, not really, not me. That was great.
That was spectacular.
Yeah. Masturbated the entire time while reading it too.
And that's when the spectacular turned into disturbing us.